Keanu Reeves. Where do his millions go? In 1997, on a Tuesday afternoon in West Hollywood, paparazzi stumbled onto something they weren't looking for. They found one of the world's biggest movie stars lying on a sidewalk. Keanu Reeves wasn't filming. He wasn't promoting anything. He was sharing a can of soda with a homeless man, listening to his stories. Both of them stretched out on cardboard like old friends watching clouds drift by. The cameras captured it. The photos went nowhere, because in 1997, kindness wasn't viral. It was just weird. But here's what those photographers didn't know. While they were confused about why a millionaire was eating gas station snacks on a dirty sidewalk, Keanu was in the middle of learning something that would define the next 3 decades of his life. He was learning what money can't buy, and more importantly, what it should never cost. This is the story of a man who made hundreds of millions of dollars and then systematically gave most of it away. Not for tax breaks, not for headlines, not even with his name attached. And the answer to where it all went? It's more shocking than any movie he's ever made. September 2nd, 1964, Beirut, Lebanon. A baby boy is born in a city that will soon be torn apart by war. His father is a geologist with a drug problem. His mother is a costume designer trying to hold everything together. They name him Keanu, which means cool breeze over the mountains in Hawaiian. By the time he's 3 years old, that cool breeze becomes a hurricane. His father walks out, just leaves. No goodbye, no letters, no calls. For 10 years, nothing. Young Keanu doesn't understand why. He just knows that the man who was supposed to teach him how to be a man decided that heroin was more important than his son. The family moves. Sydney, New York, Toronto. 4 high schools in 5 years. Keanu is dyslexic, struggling to read while his classmates breeze through assignments. He's the new kid again and again, learning to blend in, to not make waves, to be invisible. But even then, something is different about him. A teacher from this Toronto high school would later say that Keanu was the kid who'd give you his lunch if you forgot yours. The one who'd stay after school to help the janitor carry chairs. The teenager who'd quietly slip money into the drama club's budget so they could afford better props. He never wanted credit, the teacher remembered. Even at 15, he was like that. At 16, Keanu is chasing his dream of playing professional hockey. He's good, really good. His teammates call him the Wall because nothing gets past him in goal. But his grades are slipping, his dyslexia is getting worse, and he's bouncing between schools like a pinball. Then he discovers acting. Not because he's desperate for attention, but because on stage, the words make sense. He can be someone else for a while. Someone whose father didn't abandon him. Someone who isn't struggling to read. Someone who belongs. He's cast as Mercutio in Romeo and Juliet. His drama teacher tells him he has something special. Not raw talent, something deeper. Empathy. The ability to make you feel what his character feels. In 1984, at 20 years old, Keanu moves to Los Angeles with $1,500 and a car that barely runs. He sleeps in that car for weeks, parking it in different spots so he won't get hassled. He showers at the YMCA. He eats day-old bagels from a dumpster behind a bakery. Years later, when he's famous, someone will ask him if he was scared during those weeks. No, he says. I was learning. What was he learning? That most people ignore the homeless. That when you have nothing, you become invisible. That the same person who won't make eye contact with you on the street will smile at you once you're wearing clean clothes. He never forgot that. 1989. Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure hits theaters. Keanu Reeves becomes a star overnight. He's 25 years old, playing a lovable idiot in a time-traveling phone booth. And suddenly, everyone knows his name. The movie makes $60 million. He's offered 20 more scripts in 6 months. And that's when he does something that confuses every agent in Hollywood. He turns down millions to stay in theater. I want to play Hamlet in Manitoba, he tells his agent. His agent thinks he's joking. Keanu, you could be making $2 million a picture. I'll do it for $100 a night. And he does. While Ted co-star is buying a Ferrari, Keanu is riding a bicycle to a community theater in Canada, performing Shakespeare for crowds of 40 people. The Hollywood trades call it career suicide. His agent warns him he'll be forgotten. But Keanu doesn't care about being forgotten. He cares about the craft, about getting better, about remembering why he started acting in the first place. In 1991, My Own Private Idaho is released. Keanu plays a gay hustler opposite River Phoenix. It's the kind of role that could kill a career in 1991. But Keanu takes scale pay. He takes it because he believes in the director. He takes it because River Phoenix is his friend and he wants to help him shine. The movie is a critical darling. Keanu gets rave reviews. More importantly, he gets a friend. River Phoenix becomes his best friend. They talk about philosophy, about art, about what it means to be famous and still be real. River is wrestling with addiction, and Keanu is one of the few people who doesn't judge him for it, doesn't try to fix him, just listens. On October 31st, 1993, Keanu gets a phone call at 2 in the morning. River is dead, overdose, outside a nightclub. He was 23 years old. Keanu doesn't talk about it publicly for 15 years. When he finally does, his voice cracks. He was my brother, you know? Not by blood, but in every way that mattered. He starts donating money to drug rehabilitation centers, quietly. No press releases, no tax write-offs, just checks that arrive at addiction clinics with no return address. 1994, Speed explodes into theaters. The movie makes $350 million worldwide. Keanu is now certified box office gold. Studios are offering him $8 million, $10 million, $12 million per picture. He could buy a mansion in Beverly Hills. He could buy 10. He buys a small apartment in West Hollywood. His friends ask him why. I don't need much, he says. What he does need is meaningful work. So when he's offered $15 million to star in Speed 2, he says no. People think he's insane. His own mother asks if he's feeling okay. But Keanu has read a script that nobody else wants to do. It's called The Devil's Advocate. It's about a lawyer who sells his soul to the devil. The problem is that the budget is too small to afford both Keanu Reeves and Al Pacino. So Keanu cuts his salary by $2 million, just walks away from $2 million so Al Pacino can be in the movie. I wanted to work with him, Keanu says later, like it's the most obvious thing in the world. What's money compared to that? The movie is a hit. Critics praise the chemistry between Reeves and Pacino, and Hollywood starts to notice something unusual about Keanu Reeves. He's not playing the game. He's playing a different game entirely. 1991. The call comes in the middle of the night. Keanu's younger sister, Kim, has been diagnosed with leukemia. She's 25 years old. The doctors say she needs aggressive chemotherapy. They say it's going to be years of treatment. They say the survival rate isn't great. Keanu is filming at the time. He tells the director he needs to leave. Not for a week, not for a month. He needs to leave, period. My sister needs me, he says. He doesn't ask, he doesn't negotiate, he just goes. For the next 10 years. Keanu Reeves becomes his sister's primary caregiver. He sells his house and moves closer to her. He learns how to clean PICC lines. He learns which anti-nausea medications work best at 3 in the morning. He learns how to hold someone's hand while they vomit from chemotherapy. He cooks her meals, cleans her apartment, drives her to appointments, sits with her during infusions that last 8 hours. He misses auditions. He turns down roles. He puts his entire career on hold. Kim would later tell a reporter, when the pain got really bad, he would sit with me and hold my hand and keep the bad man from making me dance. He was supporting me and comforting me all the time, even when he was away. The bad man was her name for the cancer. Keanu never corrected her. He just held her hand and told her stories until she fell asleep. In 1995, Kim tells People magazine, "My brother is my prince. He listens to every word, to every comma after every word that you are saying." During one particularly brutal round of treatment, Keanu is offered the lead role in The Matrix. The Wachowskis want him. The studio wants him. The money is massive. But Kim's treatment schedule conflicts with the filming schedule. Keanu asks the Wachowskis if they can delay production. The Wachowskis, to their eternal credit, say yes. They push the entire production back 6 months. Not because Keanu demanded it. Because they understood what he was going through. When filming finally begins in 1997, Keanu is exhausted. He's been sleeping 4 hours a night for years, juggling Kim's care with his work. But when he puts on those black sunglasses and that leather coat, something magical happens. He becomes Neo, the One, the guy who can dodge bullets and break the Matrix. And maybe, just maybe, he's not acting. Maybe he's channeling every ounce of pain and frustration and love into a character who refuses to accept that the world is what it appears to be, who fights against impossible odds, who never ever gives up on the people he loves. The Matrix is released in March 1999. It makes $467 million worldwide. It revolutionizes action movies. It becomes a cultural phenomenon. Keanu makes $45 million from the film when you include box office bonuses and back-end deals. And then he gives away $31.5 million of it, 70%, gone, to leukemia research, to cancer hospitals, to treatment centers that help families like his. No press conference, no charity gala, no grinning photo ops with oversized checks, just wire transfers to organizations that needed the money more than he did. His sister Kim, after 10 years of fighting, goes into remission in 1999. She beats it, she survives, and Keanu creates a private cancer foundation that runs to this day. He doesn't put his name on it. In 2009, a reporter asks him about it. "I have a private foundation that's been running for 5 or 6 years, and it helps aid a couple of children's hospitals and cancer research. I don't like to attach my name to it. I just let the foundation do what it does." When pressed about why he doesn't want credit, he gets uncomfortable. It's not about credit, it's about the work. But Kim's cancer isn't the only tragedy that shapes Keanu in the late 90s. In 1998, he meets Jennifer Syme at a party. She's a production assistant and aspiring actress. They fall in love. It's fast and intense and real. Within a year, she's pregnant. They name their daughter Ava. They paint a nursery. They buy tiny clothes and make plans for a future that feels, for the first time in Keanu's life, stable. On Christmas Eve, 1999, at 8 months pregnant, Jennifer goes into labor. Ava is stillborn. The doctors can't explain why. Sometimes they say, these things just happen, but that doesn't make it hurt any less. Keanu and Jennifer try to hold it together. They really do. But grief is a terrible thing. It doesn't care about love. It doesn't care about good intentions. It just sits between two people like a wall neither of them knows how to climb. They break up a few weeks later. But Keanu stays in touch. He calls her, checks on her, makes sure she's okay. Because that's what he does. He shows up. He cares. Even when it hurts. On April 2nd, 2001, Jennifer Syme leaves a party at Marilyn Manson's house. She's been drinking. She's been taking prescription medication for depression. She gets in her car and drives into oncoming traffic on Cahuenga Boulevard. She dies instantly. Keanu is filming The Matrix Reloaded when he gets the call. He disappears from set for a week. Nobody knows where he goes. His co-stars don't ask. When he comes back, he doesn't talk about it. He just goes back to work, nailing takes, performing stunts, smiling for the cameras. But at night, crew members see him sitting alone on set, staring at nothing. One grip remembers. "I asked him if he needed anything. He looked at me and said, 'I'm okay. Thank you for asking.' But his eyes, man, his eyes were somewhere else." In 2006, a reporter asks Keanu about grief. He's quiet for a long time. Then he says, "Grief changes shape, but it never ends. People have a misconception that you can deal with it and say, 'It's gone and I'm better.' They're wrong. When the people you love are gone, you're alone. Some people die, and the person you were with them dies too." It's one of the only times he publicly talks about Jennifer and Ava. 2003. The Matrix Reloaded and The Matrix Revolutions are shot back-to-back. Keanu is set to make somewhere between $40 and $100 million from both films when back-end profits are factored in. It's generational wealth, the kind of money that sets up your great-great-grandchildren. Instead, Keanu restructures his contract. He gives up his back-end points, his profit participation, the thing that would have made him one of the highest-paid actors in history. And he funnels that money into two places. First, to the special effects team. The people creating the groundbreaking bullet time sequences, the CGI agents, the impossible fight choreography, they get millions. Direct payments, bonuses that let them buy houses, pay off student loans, start families. One visual effects artist later says, "We couldn't believe it. Stars don't do that. They just don't." But Keanu said, "You guys made this movie what it is. You should share in the success." Second, to the costume and makeup departments, the people who spent months designing the looks, hand-stitching the leather coats, applying the prosthetics, they get profit sharing that would normally go to producers and executives. When asked why, Keanu says something that becomes legendary in Hollywood. "They were the ones who made the movie. I just showed up and stood where they told me to stand." But he's not done. On the last day of filming The Matrix Reloaded, Keanu walks onto set with 12 identical boxes. Inside each box is a Harley-Davidson motorcycle. He gives one to each member of the stunt team, 12 bikes, worth about $20,000 each. A total gift of $240,000. No cameras, no publicists, just Keanu saying thank you to the guys who threw themselves through glass and off buildings so he could look like a badass. One stuntman, Chad Stahelski, who would later direct the John Wick films, says, "That's when I knew Keanu wasn't like other actors. He sees you, he respects you, he takes care of you." The stories start to pile up. A set builder on The Matrix is having financial trouble. Keanu hears about it and hands him a $20,000 check. No questions asked. A caterer on Constantine is struggling to pay for her mother's medical bills. Keanu quietly arranges for her to have health insurance through the production company, even though she's a contractor and doesn't qualify. A production assistant on John Wick mentions she's been saving up to buy a car. Keanu buys her one, a Honda Civic. Nothing flashy, just reliable transportation so she can get to work safely. The stories leak out slowly. Reddit threads, Twitter posts from crew members, whispers in the industry. People start calling him the nicest guy in Hollywood, the most generous, the most humble. But here's what's interesting. Keanu doesn't do any of this publicly. He's not building a brand. He's not angling for good press. In fact, when reporters ask him about his charity work, he changes the subject. In a 2003 interview with the Chicago Tribune, he says, "Money is the last thing I think about. I could live on what I've already made for the next few centuries." The reporter pishes. "How much do you donate?" Keanu stands up, interview's over. Let's talk about what doesn't make the headlines. In 2008, Keanu participates in a stand-up to cancer telethon. He's manning the phones, taking calls from donors, thanking them for their contributions. He's there for 6 hours. Most celebrities show up for 20 minutes, take a photo, and leave. Not Keanu. One volunteer remembers. He was talking to this elderly woman who'd lost her husband to cancer. She was crying. Keanu stayed on the phone with her for 45 minutes, just listening, just being present. That's not good publicity. That's just being a decent human. In 2011, Keanu co-founds a publishing company called X Artists Books with his friend Alexandra Grant. They publish art books, poetry, philosophy. They pay their artists fair wages. They make sure everyone involved in production gets credited and compensated properly. It's a money pit. Art publishing always is. But Keanu doesn't care. It's about giving artists a platform, he says, about making sure they're treated with respect. In 2017, Keanu is filming in Louisiana when Hurricane Harvey hits Texas. He doesn't make a public statement. He doesn't post on social media. He just wires $2 million to relief efforts and goes back to work. Nobody knows about it until a charity organizer mentions it in passing 3 years later. 2018. The John Wick movies have made Keanu relevant again. He's in his 50s now, doing his own stunts, training 6 hours a day, proving that age is just a number. The movies are massive hits. He's making bank. But he's also noticing something. The stunt community is getting screwed. Stunt performers are the backbone of action movies. They're the ones getting hit by cars, falling off buildings, setting themselves on fire. But they're paid as day players. No back end, no profit participation, no health insurance that covers the long-term damage to their bodies. So Keanu starts a campaign, quietly, behind the scenes. He talks to directors, producers, studio heads. He argues that stunt performers should get residuals, that they should have better insurance, that they should be credited more prominently, and he puts his money where his mouth is. For John Wick Chapter 4, Keanu gifts each of his stuntmen a Rolex Submariner watch. Not just any Rolex, personalized, engraved with their name and a message thanking them for their work. Each watch is worth about $9,000. He gives away nearly a dozen. Bruce Lee's daughter, Shannon Lee, hears about it and posts on social media. This is what it means to honor the people who make you look good. Chad Stahelski, the director and former Reeves stuntman, says, "Stunt guys are lining up to work with Keanu, not for the gifts, because he makes them feel valued, because he treats them like family." Now let's talk about the everyday stuff. The stuff that doesn't involve millions of dollars but reveals even more about who Keanu Reeves actually is. Keanu rides the subway, not as a publicity stunt, just as a regular commuter. In 2011, a video goes viral of Keanu giving up his seat to a woman with a heavy bag on a crowded New York subway train. He doesn't make a show of it, just stands up, gestures to the seat, and goes back to reading his book. A teenage girl who was on that train posts about it later. He didn't even look around to see if anyone noticed. He just did it, like it was the most normal thing in the world. In 2019, Keanu is on a flight from San Francisco to Burbank when the plane has to make an emergency landing in Bakersfield. The passengers are stranded. They need to get to Los Angeles, but there's no transportation arranged. Keanu doesn't call a private car. He doesn't complain. He gets on a bus with everyone else. And during the hour-long drive, he entertains the passengers, reading facts about Bakersfield from his phone, playing music, making jokes. One passenger films it and posts it online. The video shows Keanu looking genuinely happy to be stuck on a bus with a bunch of strangers. Where else are you going to learn that Bakersfield is the 9th most populous city in California? He says, grinning. That same year, at E3, a video game conference, a fan in the audience yells, "You're breathtaking." Keanu doesn't laugh it off. He points at the guy and yells back, "No, you're breathtaking. You're all breathtaking." The crowd goes insane. The video goes ultra-viral. But here's what's important. Keanu isn't performing. He genuinely seems to mean it. He genuinely seems grateful that people care about his work. Let's talk about the homeless thing, because this is where it gets really interesting. In 1997, Keanu was photographed sitting on a sidewalk in West Hollywood with a homeless man. They're sharing food, sharing a drink, just talking. The photos don't make a splash at the time, but years later they resurface. People start asking questions. What was he doing? Keanu explains it in a later interview, though he's clearly uncomfortable talking about it. "I was preparing for a role that ended up not happening. I spent a few days living on the streets to understand what it was like, and I met some incredible people. People who had stories that would break your heart and inspire you at the same time." But here's what he doesn't say. After that experience, Keanu started carrying cash, not for himself, for the people he sees on the streets. One Twitter user posts in 2018 that their Uber driver told them Keanu regularly handed him $100 bills and asked him to give them to homeless people he saw during his shifts. "He didn't want anyone to know it was from him," the driver said. "He just wanted to help." In 2020, during the COVID-19 pandemic, Keanu is spotted in New York, sitting on a park bench eating ice cream with a homeless man. No cameras, no publicist. Just two guys sharing a moment. A tourist snaps a photo from a distance. It goes viral. People comment on how sad Keanu looks, but maybe he's not sad. Maybe he's just listening, actually listening, to someone the world has decided doesn't matter. In 2020, Keanu auctions off a 15-minute Zoom date with himself for Camp Rainbow Gold, a charity that supports kids with cancer. The winning bid is $19,000 for 15 minutes of his time. Keanu could have pocketed that money, or written it off as an appearance fee. Instead, every penny goes to the charity, and when the Zoom call happens, he stays on for 45 minutes, answering questions, telling stories, making the winner feel like the most important person in the world. The winner posts about it later. "He asked me about my life, my family, my dreams. It wasn't about him. He made it about me. I'll never forget it." 2023. Keanu is 59 years old. He's been acting for 40 years. He's made hundreds of millions of dollars. He's lost people he loved. He survived grief that would break most people, and he still rides the subway, still talks to fans like they're friends, still lives in a modest apartment, still shows up early to set, and stays late to help crew members pack up. His net worth is estimated at $380 million. But if you met him on the street, you'd never know it. He wears the same leather jacket he's had for 20 years, rides a motorcycle he bought used, doesn't own a house in the Hollywood Hills, or a yacht or a private jet. So where does the money go? To cancer research, to children's hospitals, to stunt performers and set builders and costume designers, to homeless people on street corners, to friends who are struggling, to causes nobody's ever heard of because he doesn't want the attention. In 2021, Alexandra Grant, his longtime girlfriend and business partner, is asked what it's like being with Keanu. She smiles. He's the most present person I've ever met. He doesn't live in the past. He doesn't worry about the future. He's just here, now, with you. That might be the secret. Keanu Reeves isn't generous because he's trying to be a good person. He's generous because he genuinely doesn't care about the things most people spend their lives chasing. Fame, fortune, legacy. He cares about connection, about making someone's day a little better, about showing up for the people who need him. In 2022, a journalist asks him, "Do you ever regret giving away so much money?" Keanu looks confused by the question. "Regret? I don't understand. I have everything I need, more than I need. Why would I hold on to it when it could help someone else?" The journalist pushes, "But don't you want security, a safety net?" Keanu laughs, not cruelly, just genuinely amused. "Man, I could never work another day in my life and I'd be fine. Security isn't about how much money you have, it's about knowing you did right by people. That's the only security that matters." Let's talk about the legacy. In Hollywood, actors are usually remembered for their roles, for the characters they brought to life, the box office records they shattered. Keanu will be remembered for all of that. Neo, John Wick, Ted Logan. These are iconic characters that will live on for generations. But there's something else happening, something unprecedented. Keanu Reeves is becoming a symbol, not of wealth, not of fame, but of decency. There's a reason the internet collectively decided he's the best human being alive. It's not just the movies, it's the accumulation of 1,000 small acts of kindness, the way he treats people, the way he refuses to let success change who he is. In 2019, a New York Times reporter writes, "Keanu Reeves has become proof that you can be successful without being a jerk, that you can be wealthy without being greedy, that you can be famous without being egotistical." And maybe that's the point. Maybe Keanu Reeves is proof that it's possible to live differently, to move through the world with compassion instead of contempt, to see people instead of stepping over them. In 1997, when those paparazzi stumbled onto Keanu sitting on a sidewalk with a homeless man, they thought they were catching him doing something embarrassing. They weren't. They were catching him doing the only thing he's ever really cared about, being human. Oh, there's a Reddit thread called "What's a Positive Celebrity Encounter You've Had?" It has thousands of comments, and more than half of them are about Keanu Reeves. People who met him at a gas station, at a restaurant, in an airport, on a street corner, and every single story is the same. He stopped, he listened, he made them feel like they mattered. One person writes, "I was having the worst day of my life. My mom had just died. I was walking through downtown LA, crying, not paying attention. I bumped into someone. It was Keanu. I apologized, embarrassed, and he just looked at me and asked, 'Are you okay?' Not like a celebrity asking a fan, like a human asking another human. I told him what happened. He hugged me, a complete stranger, and he said, 'I'm so sorry. Please take care of yourself.' I think about that every time I'm struggling." Another writes, "My car broke down outside a coffee shop. Keanu was inside. He saw me struggling with the hood and came over to help. We couldn't fix it. So he called AAA for me and waited with me until they arrived. 45 minutes. He didn't have to do that. He just did." The stories go on. Hundreds of them, thousands, and what's remarkable is that none of them are about him being a movie star. They're all about him being kind. 2024. Keanu is 60 years old. He's filming another John Wick movie, still doing his own stunts, still training like a maniac, still showing up on time and knowing everyone's name. But something's different. He's talking more about death, about mortality, not in a sad way, in a curious, philosophical way. In an interview, he's asked, "What happens when we die?" He thinks for a moment, then says, "I think the people who love us will miss us." It's such a simple answer, but it reveals everything. Keanu isn't worried about his legacy. He's not trying to build an empire or leave his mark on the world. He just wants to be missed, to have mattered to the people who knew him. And here's the thing. He will be, deeply, not because of The Matrix or John Wick, but because he treated people with dignity, because he gave away millions without seeking credit, because he showed up for his sister and held her hand through hell, because he sat on sidewalks with homeless men and listened to their stories, because he made people feel seen. That's the legacy. That's where the money went, into the lives of people who needed it more than he did. So what do we do with this information? We live in a world that worships billionaires, that celebrates people who hoard wealth and flex on Instagram, that tells us that success means having more than everyone else. And then there's Keanu Reeves, worth hundreds of millions, riding the subway, eating sandwiches on park benches, giving away millions to people whose names we'll never know. He's not a saint. He'd be the first to tell you that. He's just a guy who decided early on that money is a tool, not a trophy, that wealth should be shared, not hoarded, that the most valuable thing you can give someone isn't cash, it's time, attention, respect, and maybe, just maybe, if more people with money fought like Keanu, the world would look a little different. But here's what's really beautiful. You don't need millions to live like Keanu. You just need to give a damn. About the person sitting next to you on the bus, about the cashier who looks exhausted, about the friend who's struggling but won't ask for help. You need to show up. To listen, to see people. That's the lesson. Not how much money Keanu gave away, but why he gave it away. Because he knows something most of us forget. Money comes and goes, fame fades, success is fleeting. But how you make people feel, that lasts forever. In 2009, Keanu was asked in an interview, "What do you hope people remember about you?" He looked uncomfortable, shifted in his seat, looked away. Finally, he said, "I don't think about that. I just hope I was kind. That's all. That's all. Not a legacy, not awards, not monuments, just kindness. And in a world that's constantly screaming for attention, that's the most radical thing you can be." So where do Keanu Reeves' millions go? To cancer research that's saving lives, to hospitals treating sick kids, to stunt performers who risk their bodies for our entertainment, to special effects artists who create magic, to costume designers who make characters real, to homeless people who society has decided don't matter, to friends who need help, to strangers he'll never see again. But most importantly, they go into moments, into gestures, into the accumulated weight of 1,000 small acts of decency. They go into proving that it's possible to have everything and still stay human, that money doesn't have to corrupt you, that fame doesn't have to change you, that success doesn't mean stepping on people to climb higher. Keanu Reeves took hundreds of millions of dollars and turned it into something rarer than wealth. He turned it into respect, into love, into the kind of legacy that doesn't fit on a Forbes list, but matters infinitely more. And maybe that's the real story. Not where the money went, but what it became. It became proof. Proof that kindness isn't weakness, that generosity isn't foolish, that you can be wildly successful without being ruthless. Proof that one person can make a difference, not by changing the world, but by changing the world for one person at a time. The last thing I'll tell you is this. In 2023, a crew member on John Wick 4 posted on Reddit about their experience working with Keanu. They wrote, "There's a moment on every Keanu set where something clicks. You realize you're not working for a star. You're working with a guy who genuinely cares about you, who asks about your kids, who remembers your birthday, who tips the catering staff, who carries equipment when he doesn't have to, and you think, this is what it's supposed to be like. This is how people are supposed to treat each other." That crew member ended with this: "I hope I never become so successful that I forget what it's like to be kind. I hope I never have so much that I stop seeing people who have less. I hope I can be even 1% of what Keanu is, because that guy, He's figured something out that most of us never will. What has he figured out? That the richest person in the room isn't the one with the most money. It's the one who gives the most away. And by that measure, Keanu Reeves might be the richest person alive. If this story inspired you, hit that subscribe button for quiet fame. We tell the stories that matter. The ones about humans being human. The ones that remind us why kindness, empathy, and generosity will always be more valuable than fame or fortune. Because at the end of the day, we're not here to chase money. We're here to chase meaning. And Keanu Reeves has been showing us how for the last 30 years.